This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. After months of uncertainty, up to 40 stood-down workers at a Tasmanian abattoir are expected to be made redundant. JBS Longford workers were called this morning as the future of the plant's lamb facility remains in limbo.
After 13 months of prolonged stand-downs, dozens of Longford meat workers will soon be out of a job indefinitely. JBS Australia today announced it will offer redundancies to up to 40 of its stood-down lamb workers. Beef processors feeling for their colleagues.
Well, it's very sad, really. They've all lost their work. I wouldn't want to be one of them anyway.
The smalls line has been closed since April following a national lamb and mutton shortage. The meat union says 80 workers have resigned since initially being stood down last August. It's now calling for a better deal for former workers.
We're of the opinion that those that have resigned have done it through duress and have been forced into it in order to be able to access some type of government fund, and so those people should also be paid the redundancies.
You've got more, probably should be made redundant, but they've got other jobs now, so...
It's unclear when the smalls line will reopen. Lamb was expected to start being processed again here by the end of the year, but the meat union and workers aren't convinced.
It's not looking real good for them at the moment, but yeah, they reckon it may in a few months, but yeah, just have to wait and see, I suppose.
I have grave doubts. Why we continue to ship this stock out of the state, I don't think it will reopen, because it's more beneficial for a company this side to actually transport them out live than process it here and boxed.
The state government says it's disappointed with the company's decision.
We'll work with those employees that have been displaced to assist them to find other work.
The beef line will continue as normal. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Fire has broken out in the engine room of a cargo ship docked at Bell Bay. Crew on board the vessel were alerted to the fire around 4:30 this morning via CCTV. Initial investigations have determined the blaze started from a generator in the engine room.
Highly unusual that we have any sorts of incidents involving these ships. They're incredibly safe, so for us it was an opportunity to be able to deal with something out of the ordinary, and with the assistance of Launceston crews we've been able to do that really well.
No one was injured and no cargo on board was damaged. The ship was scheduled to depart for Newcastle tomorrow, but delays are now expected. The total damage bill is yet to be determined. The Royal Hobart Hospital remains at its highest escalation level tonight as influenza continues to put pressure on hospital resources. The opposition today questioned the government's winter illness strategy, with this year's flu season described as the worst in recent history.
Why did you place such little priority on preparing Tasmanians and the Tasmanian health system for the winter flu season?
The THS are using ambulatory care centre weekend openings over the winter period, providing 10 beds, with other new beds coming online, as well as the weekend discharge coordination, longer pharmacy opening hours and a range of other initiatives.
Hospital authorities say patient flow is improving following a busy weekend. The escalation level at the Royal Hobart Hospital is expected to be reviewed later tonight. The state opposition is vehemently denying any suggestions of an emergency party room meeting last week to discuss its gaming policy. Accusations were raised in Parliament today as an inquiry into Tasmania's gaming market prepares to deliver its recommendations.
A waterfront breakfast celebrating Tasmania's culinary talents.
Who wants a mushroom?
A dish served hot for a premier preparing to put the heat on the opposition.
Just what I need before Parliament.
On the menu for question time, accusations of an aborted emergency Labor Party room meeting on gaming.
They then claimed that it wasn't a meeting. They said that they still don't have a position on gaming. In fact, they'd all stayed late at Parliament on a Thursday night for a birthday party. I mean serious.
Confirmation from the birthday girl herself.
We gathered as a group, which we don't get to do very often in those circumstances, on a purely social occasion, and had dinner together.
In all of my time in Parliament, that's the worst excuse for a secret party meeting that I've ever heard.
The government's culinary taunts putting a knife to Labor policy.
Just like a light green souffle, Madam Speaker, that is going to collapse as a result of the policy vacuum that exists within it.
For the Liberals, it's all about wedge politics. It's about getting stuck into Labor and not talking about the real issue here, and the real issue is the lives and the livelihoods that are lost as a result of poker machines in Tasmania.
They should be looking at their own policies and their own business. We've had the Legislative Council adjourn early today and adjourn until 2:30 tomorrow afternoon because there is no government business to deal with.
It's private members' time today, and so it's got nothing to do with the government.
The inquiry into gaming is preparing to deliver its recommendations by Thursday next week. If the report isn't finalised by then, the findings will be postponed until October.
We've said all along that we are taking the Committee of Inquiry seriously and we want to hear what they have to say, and we will be basing our policy on the recommendations put forward by the committee.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Launceston's Deputy Mayor Rob Soward has reappeared in court over allegations he used a carriage service to harass another person. The 48-year-old previously pleaded not guilty to the charge. A further mention will take place next month, allowing the prosecution more time to consider the case. Mr Soward's hearing is set to begin on November 17. Foma organisers have confirmed the music and arts extravaganza is expanding to Launceston, with a mini festival to be held in January. A funding deal to relocate the whole event to the city from 2019 is still being negotiated with the state government.
If this is any sign, we're in for an interesting ride with Foma. A mobile billboard doing loops around Pauline Hanson's office today with a personal invitation to the summer festival, spruiking a transgender rhapsodist, the Muslim Janis Joplin, and burqa-wearing guitarists.
She has a reputation for not exactly embracing diversity, but we think she should, and we would like her to buy a ticket to Foma and come down here and see that music is the healing force of the universe.
The main festival will hit Hobart January 15th to the 22nd. In the days leading up to that, a mini mofo will be held in Launceston, including a free street party.
So this is a transitional year. We want to give the Launcestonians a taste of what mofo is, and then we'll inundate them and subsume them in 2019.
There's a lot of great areas around Launceston they could use, so we still continue to have those discussions about the Gorge, the Princess Theatre, etc. So fantastic venues and a great place to have these cultural events.
From the first event in 2009, the festival has become a Hobart summer mainstay, but there are now plans to completely relocate it to Launceston from 2019. To secure this move, organisers are still negotiating a funding deal with the state government.
Mona is a unique brand and it would obviously have some very strong benefits up north, but we're working through a process and we'll have more to say in coming weeks.
As for what we can expect this summer,
we do have some big names lined up for 2018 in January, but typically of Foma, they won't be doing exactly what they're known for.
All will be revealed when the lineup is announced next month. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania's tourism credentials have been boosted, with 3 local businesses taking out top national awards. Our state was recognised for having the best regional restaurant, liquor outlet and the 2017 Hotel of the Year.
Riversdale Estate has been cooking up a storm and it's gaining national attention. The Cambridge Vineyard taking out the Australian Hotels Association's award for the best regional restaurant.
Yeah, so last night, extremely exciting for the business. We have won the Australian Award for Best Regional Restaurant in Australia, which is great for the company, for the Roberts family, for our vineyard. You know.
I'm very excited. Popped a bottle of champagne, so yeah, very exciting.
With plenty of local wine to show off, the Launceston City 911 came out on top as the nation's best bottle shop.
And we do focus on that product knowledge and, especially of the local Tasmanian knowledge. And the training that we put into the staff as well has really helped.
The Henry Jones Art Hotel has taken out a major gong. It's been named the Hotel of the Year after recent renovations.
Henry Jones is a celebration of Tasmanian history and Tasmanian art, and I think it's those colourful stories that sort of hit you in the heart, that are really meaningful, that impact the guests, that create something beyond hospitality.
Industry leaders say as we feel the benefits of a tourism boom, our workers are key.
That's quite critical to our success. If we don't have the right people delivering great hospitality experiences one-on-one, we might lose the game.
Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Residents on King Island have reported feeling their whole house shake following 3 small earthquakes overnight. The epicentre for each were recorded between 3 Hummock Island and King Island. All 3 tremors ranged between 3.2 and 3.4 magnitude. Another 2.4 magnitude quake was also recorded off Ulverston. No damage has been reported. Local research revealing red flags for scallop producers is now making waves worldwide. The study linking oil and gas exploration with scallop deaths has been distributed to the world's top scientists.
An extensive 4-year study finding underwater blasting during oil and gas exploration reduces the immune system of scallops, increasing the likelihood of death.
There's definite potential that if seismic surveys are done in areas where there are scallop beds, that could impact on those beds.
The investigation by IMAS began after $70 million worth of scallops were killed in Bass Strait in 2010, following a series of seismic tests. The state government of the day waited for concrete evidence of a link.
I'm waiting for the science to come in.
It's now here, the findings published in a prestigious science journal based in the US, opening the door for potentially more regulatory change here and overseas.
There might be buffer zones that could be created such that seismic surveys don't go within a certain distance of these beds.
The task is to strike the right balance between these 2 valuable industries.
This isn't the end of this research, there's more to be done, but getting it out there in peer-reviewed literature means other people can take up our results and continue with it.
IMAS says its research is already being implemented in Tasmania. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed lower, giving up its early gains as investors tread cautiously ahead of the US Central Bank's monetary policy decision. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 7 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 79.9 US cents and 89.24 Japanese yen.
With much of the hype surrounding the men's competition recently, the women are ready to impress come Saturday's TSLW Grand Final at UTAS Stadium. And while Launceston head into the big dance as favourites, Glenorchy are desperate to steal an upset win. Having knocked out the minor premiers in convincing fashion to earn their grand final spot, the Pies are flying high.
To hold them almost scoreless or goalless, at least for that second half, we've got a lot of confidence going into this game.
But the black and white comes up against its Achilles heel side in Launceston, with the Blues getting the better of them in all 3 contests this season.
I'm happy to give them the favourites going into the game, but I'm pretty confident that we may come out as victors at the end of it.
With 2 of its players recently invited to the first ever AFL Women's Draft Combine, Launceston is looking to cement itself as the TSLW benchmark.
Oh, it'll be just an amazing experience, yep. We deserve it this year. We've been working really, really hard and putting all the extra efforts in and extra training, so it'd be amazing. Yep, great feeling.
The opening bounce is at 1:15 this Saturday at UTAS Stadium, following the Mercury Cup Grand Final, where Launceston will also start favourites against Clarence, after finishing the season on top of the table and having already beat the Roos once this final series.
The one that can just fight out all 4 quarters, I guess, being consistent all through the game. Clarence are really good at opening it up and having a lot of spread and run, but hopefully our defence is good enough to stop it.
We just have to stick to our structure. We're going to go up there as underdogs. They've beaten us a few times. We beat them once this year at Windsor Park earlier in the year. Doesn't mean much now. I think Grand Final Day is very different.
Hobart cyclist Madeline Fastnacht is seeing success at the Sports World Championships, taking out bronze in the junior time trial. What's more, her coach says she's a good chance of scoring gold in the longer distance races later this week.
Against 45 of the world's best junior cyclists, Madeline Fasnacht hit the track in Norway. The 17-year-old has spent the past 6 weeks focusing solely on sprints, and last night it paid dividends. Fasnacht tearing up the 16-kilometre course in 24 minutes and 2 seconds.
Coming into the finishing line, this is a great performance by Fasnacht.
The second fastest run of the day until the very last rider stole the show, Fasnacht earning bronze and praise from coaches back home.
She sent me a message and said she felt it was pretty surreal at the time.
Coach Watson says Fasnacht favours longer distances. On Friday, she has a 76-kilometre road race, something much more to her liking.
It's a big stepping stone into the next couple of years, maybe into some more bigger teams that she may be in, and certainly going into the national titles in January.
In other cycling news, a big boost has been announced for this year's Stan Shaker Classic. The event will be included in the Elite National Sprint Series, joining stages in Melbourne and Sydney. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanian Tigers coach Adam Griffith is expecting big things from his side in next month's One Day Cup series, with a hotly contested 14-man squad announced today. And with James Faulkner, Tim Payne and Matthew Wade ready to slot back into the team later in the tournament, players will have to be at the top of their game in order to hold on to spots.
With runs and wickets the currency for the new head coach, Tigers players can barely afford one poor performance against their name.
Well, we want to have those tough conversations. That's the beauty of, I think, where we're at the moment, is it's not just picking 14 players and there's no one else. We've actually got some competition for spots, which is exciting for us.
It's a mix of fresh and familiar faces in the 14-man squad, announced today for the upcoming JLT One Day Cup. George Bailey, Jackson Bird, Ben McDermott and Ben Dunk are among the regulars, with Riley Meredith and Tom Rogers set to debut. Andrew Feckerty is close to being back at his best, according to Griffith, with Simon Malenko and Alex Doolan also impressing during pre-season preparations.
We just had our camp up at Mooloolaba, where we played 5 games and did pretty well up there, and some really good performances, and it's exciting for those guys. It's fresh, new, it's energy for the group.
With James Faulkner, Matthew Wade and Tim Payne on international duties, they'll slot into the side later in the tournament.
Once those 3 become available throughout the tournament, then we just bring them back in and replace the player. So, fortunately for us, we didn't have to select either of all those 3.
But it means those selected in today's squad can ill afford to underperform.
You know, we will. We'll look at the performances in the initial parts of the tournament, and we'll keep the best 14 that we think can win us games of cricket for Tasmania.
Good evening. Hobart 12 degrees today. Launceston recorded 15. Burnie and Devonport 13. 17 was the high at Eddystone Point as a front moved through, bringing scattered showers and a cold change from the southwest. St Helens 16 degrees. Bridport and Friendly Beaches 15. Campania, Wynyard and Flinders Island 13. Lowhead, Bushy Park and Strawn 12 today, and Grove 11. The cloud band with the front is off to the east of Tasmania at the moment, with that cold air mass moving over us as well. That's also pushing over Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia. Another front is to the west, with a large mass of cloud building over the Southern Ocean, and the cloud band over northern Queensland has a bit of rain in it as well. Open cellular cloud over us today, streaming in from the southwest. Tomorrow everything shifts east, with the high pressure ridge extending over Tasmania from the high centred over New South Wales. The cold front moves over the Bight, with the prefrontal trough leading the way. Southwest to northwest winds at 15 to 20 knots, but reaching 25 knots over the west and south, with swells at 4 metres. A frost warning for parts of the central north, north-east, Midlands and east coast for the early hours tomorrow. A late shower forecast for Hobart, 16 the top, 15 for Geeston and 15 also for Bothwell. Launceston, an early frost, a cloudy day, 14 the top, 13 for Devonport, morning frost for Cressy, a top of 14 degrees. Burnie, cloudy and 14, a late shower in the west, Strawn 14, Curry on King Island 15, St Helens tomorrow, 16 degrees with a bit of cloud cover, 17 for Swansea, Orford, a top of 15. On Thursday, showers mainly over the west, far south and north coast. Mainly fine on Friday, just the chance of a shower over the west and possibly the north in the evening, and showers developing on Saturday, moving right across the state from the west. Showers easing from Perth tomorrow, sunny for Adelaide and Melbourne, a frosty start for Canberra, a top of 19 later, and fine for the others apart from Cairns. Partly cloudy and cooling down, 8 degrees in Hobart, 6 in Launceston, 8 right now in Devonport and fairly clear. And then snow on the mountains again today. Jo, isn't it fantastic how this cold weather has just continued right through into September?
Oh, it's so refreshing. Thank you very much, Merv. That's all from the team for the moment. We'll see you a little bit later. Bye-bye.